When you start your firearms training, you're standing still and you're shooting at a stationary target. And this is important when you're working the basics of marksmanship, so that there's not any extra distractions. You can really concentrate on your sight alignment, your trigger pull. But when we look at the dynamics of gunfighting and you have a firearm for self-defense, we need to look at being realistic in our training. And we have to do this in steps. So the next step after shooting a stationary target while you're standing still is for you to move. So I'll have my students take a side step while they're drawing, or move away from the target, or move forward, move to cover. The next step after that is to have the target move, because that's what's going to happen in a real gunfight. You are going to be moving, the bad guy's going to be moving. There's a number of different ways of having moving targets. I've discussed those in other videos. The ultimate realism for training in gunfighting would be to actually be in a gunfight. Realistically, though, that would result in severe injuries or death, so we can't do that. The step down from that is what's called force-on-force training, where you're shooting at another human being who's shooting at you, and you're both armed with weapons that are that fire projectiles that cause very little injury. Chief among those is simunitions, where they take actual firearms and they put a different operating system in them, whether it's the slide on a pistol or the bolt in a rifle. And they use marking cartridges, which is looks like a regular cartridge modified a little bit to shoot a paintball. The problem with those is they are very expensive and they're restricted to law enforcement and the military. So if you're a civilian, you're not going to have available those items. That's where Airsoft comes in. It kind of fills the void in force-on-force training, and it makes it available to everybody and at a reasonable price. You can get a good Airsoft pistol for just over $100, and the BBs are, you know, $15 for several thousand, and the propellant is very, very inexpensive also. So Airsoft gives you the highest level of training realism you're going to get shy of being in an actual gunfight. If you're going to get into force-on-force training, which I recommend, you need to buy Ken Murray's book, Training at the Speed of Life. It is the force-on-force Bible, and will tell you everything you need to know about the dynamics of force-on-force training and the psychology and physiology behind it. Now, I've got a couple of pistols in front of me, and another nice thing about the Airsoft guns is that they mimic very, very closely actual firearms. So I have a Glock 26 here, and I have a Airsoft Glock 26. And you can see they are the same dimensions, to the point where the Airsoft Glock 26 will even fit in the same holster as the real Glock 26. So if you own a pistol, there's probably an Airsoft version of it. So that's a nice feature, in that you can get a Airsoft gun that is a direct replica of your own firearm. So that's the Glock. I also have a SIG 226, and if I hold them down here and cover the muzzle, can you tell which is the real one and which is the Airsoft one? So they are very true replicas, to the point where they have releasable, detachable box magazines, and the slides actually cycle on them. The pistols tend to be what's called gas blowback, so the magazine has a reservoir that holds gas and operates the system. They're realistic to the point where in this SIG 226 it actually has a decocking lever that functions. It is double action, single action, just like on the actual SIG 226. Now, some of the advantages to the Airsoft pistol, not only is allowing you to do force-on-force training where you're shooting at another human being that's shooting at you, but it allows you to train under other circumstances. So you can train at home because these are very quiet and the projectiles are very safe. You can train actually in your home, you can train in your yard, and you can do things you couldn't do on an actual shooting range where you're only allowed to shoot in one direction. You know, how realistic is it? You know, when you get on the shooting line, you know what direction the threats are because there's only one safe place to fire the gun. With Airsoft, you can place targets in 360 degrees from you and engage targets that are all around you. So that's another serious advantage to the Airsoft guns. And, you know, here we have 4,500 BBs. These are plastic 25 caliber pellets. And, you know, so that's a lot of shooting for a few dollars. The propellant is propane. Now you can buy what's called green gas, and all it is propane with silicone lubricant in it. Or you can buy an adapter to put on a regular propane canister, and as long as you add some silicone when you're airing up your guns, it'll work just fine, and it's a lot less expensive. So let's see what it's like to load one of these things. There'll be generally a follower that you can pull down at the front of the magazine, and then you just place the pellets at the top, very similar to loading an actual magazine. On the bottom will be a valve, and it's a lot like filling a refillable butane lighter. Insert the magazine just like you would on a real firearm, run the slide, and you're in action. So you can see the slide actually reciprocates like on a real firearm. Once again, this is a SIG 226 replica. The decocker, the magazine release works like normal, and so does the decocking lever. Now, once again, I can engage targets in front of me, to the side of me, behind me. Those are all things that I couldn't do on a shooting range. One of the things you can do is set up targets in your house, or better yet, have a friend set up targets in your house, and then you can actually clear your own house, and you can do that safely. Obviously, you have to watch out for fragile things like mirrors and glass items like that, but other than that, these plastic pellets are not going to cause any damage. If you're going to do force-on-force training and you're shooting at another human being, they will leave little marks on you. The worst thing they could do is, you know, cause eye damage. So if you're going to do force-on-force training, you definitely need to wear a mask, a face mask of some sort. I don't recommend just goggles. I've seen where pellets have actually managed to get in underneath a goggle. You want a full face mask. So once again, this is another tool in your toolbox for training. It allows you to take your firearms training to another level, allowing you to train more often, less expensively, in different environments, and offers you the opportunity to shoot force on force. I'm Peter Burlingame of the Self-Defense Initiative. Thanks for watching. Be safe out there.